Welcome back, everyone, to our prayer journey with my Toth. Today, we're going to continue our walk, stepping through the book of Ruth, one verse at a time. And we're going to do 5 verses today. The first verse that I'm going to do will be done twice for a specific purpose, which you may see. So let's get started. And Naomi had a kinsman of a husband, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Abimelech, and his name was Boaz. This here is a narration technique by the author, and the author of the book of Ruth is most likely Samuel, who was a high priest and judge at the time of Judges and during the reign of David. And what he's doing here is God put upon his heart to record this story to show the lineage from Ruth to David. Ruth's a Gentile woman, and she's in this lineage. So he needs to show this. So this is one of the purposes that we're here. And this is what Matthew used to tie together. You see, the Bible is unique in that thousands of years apart, these stories line up and tie together so well. In fact, why should we believe in Jesus resurrecting from the dead? Because it was predicted that it was going to happen, that he was going to rise from the dead. It was predicted he would be crucified on a cross thousands of years before. This is the assurance we have. So the technique here that Samuel is using is introducing a very important character named Boaz, who is like a superhero to this story because he has special powers, which we'll see as we go on further. Now, I'm going to read this verse again and explain some details about this man. All right, so again, and Naomi had a kinsman of her husband, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Abimelech, and his name was Boaz. So Abimelech, this is a distant relative. He has special rights to help Naomi and Ruth, which we'll see later in our story. But he's also, it says, he's a mighty man of wealth. And actually, when you look up the words in the original language, he's a man of wealth and of law, knowledge of the law. He was a Bible follower, and he probably was one of these type of keeping law and order, neighborhood watch for his individual area. Because at this time this book is written, everybody was doing what was right in their own eyes. All right, so we're getting started here, and we're going to start to dig into this book a little more. Naomi has a daughter-in-law come to her now and says this, and Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn, after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter, go. Now, this is really a tough thing to do. You see, they were living hand from mouth from people giving them things. So Ruth comes to her and says, look, I'm healthy. Let me go out and work in the fields. But there was no job. What there was is God's workfare system. God put a system in place for the Jewish people. In fact, you're going to see another system put in place that saves these two ladies. So let me just read one of these welfare systems that God had in place. In Leviticus 23, verse 22, and when you reap the harvest of your land, and I'll explain this, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field. When thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleanings of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and the stranger. I am the Lord your God. Ruth is from another country, and they have nothing. God allows those who really follow God's command. And you got to remember, this is a time where a lot of people aren't following God's command. But she can go into fields where they're reaping, which means they're taking the crops down and they're putting them in the wagons to take to market. But the poor are allowed to go behind them and pick up what falls to the floor, or pick up the corners, not to the fence line of the property. Don't don't pick from there. Let the people that are poor come in naked if you don't want them in your fields. So that's what they do. Ruth is going out into the field, and I want you to think of this. You ever see migrant workers? A lot of them are not very godly. And you're going to have women in the field gleaning with these men. It is kind of unsafe, to say the least. Ruth is stepping out in boldness and in faith to provide for her and her mother-in-law, Naomi. She's going to go out and she's going to glean the field as the Lord has allowed to do. But we're going to see God's hand is upon her, and he directs her in the right direction. And she went, this is verse 3, and she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and it happened, was to light on a part of the field belonging to Boaz, our new superhero being introduced into this, who was of the kindred of Abimelech. You see, she happened upon them, or was it a divine appointment? It wasn't a happening, it was a direction from God. Because they're walking by faith, God takes them by the hand and brings them into the land. And behold, verse 4, Boaz came from Bethlehem. So Boaz was away, probably in a meeting in a neighborhood meeting, or doing his business dealings. And he comes back here in verse 4. And he said unto the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered him, the Lord bless you. What is this showing? This is showing these are not just any vagabonds. These are people that love the Lord, that are working for him, and they like working for him, and they're happy working for him. Again, I'll read it. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said to the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered, the Lord bless you. Isn't that a great thing for workers to be doing? To be blessing one another? And I'm going to end here, and I want you to see what happens next. Then said Boaz unto his servants, he must have looked out into the field that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is this? She caught his eye. She just so happened to be in that field, and she caught his eye. And so we will continue this story, picking up in verse 5 again, and we'll take our steps through to the conclusion of this story, which is a blessing every step of the way. So until next time, may God richly bless you, and may Jesus increase as we decrease.